Cities burn different at night. Orange and red against the black. Smoke rising in columns you can see from 15,000 feet. Beautiful, almost, until you remember what's burning down there. Captain Michael Brennan, United States Air Force, 67th Fighter Bomber Squadron. I flew F-80 Shooting Stars over North Korea in 1951. Flew 53 combat missions before they rotated me out. Most of those missions were over Pyongyang. I was 26 years old. Had flown B-24s over Germany in 44 and 45 as a co-pilot. Got out after the war. Went to college on the GI Bill. Was finishing my engineering degree when Korea happened. They called me back up. I was rated, experienced, exactly what the Air Force needed. Made me a captain. Checked me out on jets. The F-80 Shooting Star. First operational jet fighter we had. Fast, sleek. Nothing like the lumbering bombers I'd flown in the last war. This was supposed to be different. Modern warfare. Precision strikes. Jets instead of props. We'd learned from World War II, they told us. This would be cleaner. It wasn't cleaner. We deployed to Itazuki Air Base in Japan, then forward to Korean airfields as we captured them. My squadron got assigned to interdiction missions, hitting supply lines, infrastructure, military targets, standard fighter bomber work. Pyongyang was always on the target list. The capital, major transportation hub, supply depot, military headquarters, legitimate target, no question. Legitimate doesn't mean easy. The first few missions were tactical. Bridges, rail yards, warehouses, military targets you could justify. You'd line up your run, pickle off your bombs or rockets, pull up hard and get out. Flak was heavy. The North Koreans and Chinese had plenty of anti-aircraft guns. Lost guys regularly. But you could tell yourself it was military, strategic, necessary. Then came the firebombing campaigns. That's when it changed. That's when we stopped pretending this was precision warfare. That's when we started burning cities. January 1951. That's when I flew my first napalm mission over Pyongyang. That's when I learned what we'd really become. Morning briefing. January 3rd, 1951. Intelligence officer pointing at aerial photos of Pyongyang spread across the table. Chinese forces are using the city as a staging area. Troops, supplies, everything flowing through here. Your mission is to hit these industrial sectors. Deny them the infrastructure. Industrial sectors. That's what they called them. Neighborhoods, homes, places where people lived. We'd be carrying napalm. 6 canisters per aircraft, jellied gasoline that sticks to everything and burns at over 1,000 degrees, turns buildings into furnaces, turns people into torches. Weather's clear, visibility good, flak will be heavy over the city. Keep your intervals tight, get in fast, get out fast. Lieutenant Morrison raised his hand. Kid from Kansas, 23 years old. Sir, what about civilians? The intelligence officer looked at him like he'd asked a stupid question. This is a combat zone, Lieutenant. Enemy forces are using civilian areas. The distinction is meaningless. Meaningless, that's the word he used. We suited up. G-suits, harnesses, survival gear. Checked our aircraft. The F-80 was a good plane, reliable, maneuverable. The napalm canisters hung under the wings like fat silver bombs. Each canister held about 100 gallons, 6 canisters, 600 gallons of jellied gasoline per aircraft, 12 aircraft in our formation, over 7,000 gallons total, 7,000 gallons of fire we'd be dropping on a city. Takeoff was routine. Form up, head north. The flight took about 45 minutes from our base. You had time to think. Too much time. I thought about Germany. The cities we'd bombed, Dresden, Hamburg, Berlin, civilian casualties in the hundreds of thousands. We'd told ourselves it was necessary, would shorten the war, save lives in the long run. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. But I remembered seeing photos after the war, the destruction, the corpses, the children. This was the same thing. Different war, different enemy, same methods. We crossed into North Korea. Mountains below, snow-covered. Beautiful country, really. Shame about the war. The target came into view, Pyongyang. You could see the city spreading across the valley, the Taedong River running through it, smoke already rising from previous strikes. We weren't the first mission today. Dragon flight. This is Dragon lead. Arm your weapons. Stay tight. We go in trail, 30-second intervals. Hit your sectors and egress west. I flipped the master arm switch. The weapons were hot, ready to drop. Below us, 400,000 people lived in that city. How many were soldiers? How many were civilians? Did it matter anymore? We rolled in for our attack run. We came in at 2,000 feet. Low enough to be accurate. High enough to maybe survive the flak. Maybe. The anti-aircraft fire started immediately. Black puffs of smoke appearing around us. 37mm, 85mm guns. The North Koreans and Chinese had moved in serious air defense. Each puff meant shrapnel spreading out in a deadly sphere. Fly through one and your plane would be shredded. I jinked left, right, keeping erratic. Made you harder to hit, but also harder to aim. Trade-offs. Dragon lead dropped first. 6 bright silver canisters tumbling down. They hit in a residential sector north of the river. The napalm spread instantly, a wave of orange fire that seemed to splash across the buildings like liquid, which it was. Liquid fire. The fire spread, building to building. The napalm stuck to everything. Wood, stone, flesh. You couldn't put it out. Water just spread it. It burned until there was nothing left to burn. My turn. I lined up on my designated sector. Industrial area, they'd called it. Looked like warehouses mixed with housing. Probably workers' housing near the factories. Made sense from a city planning perspective. Made sense as a target, too. Workers lived near the factories. Bombed both at once. I pickled the napalm. Felt the aircraft lurch as 1,200 pounds dropped away. Pulled up hard, full throttle, getting out of the kill zone. Looked back as I banked. My napalm hit and spread. A rectangle of fire maybe 200 yards long. Everything inside it was burning. Buildings, vehicles, anything combustible. Anyone combustible. The smoke rose in thick black columns. You could see it spreading, see the fire jumping from building to building. A firestorm starting to form. The rest of the flight dropped. 12 aircraft, 12 target sectors. Within 2 minutes, a quarter of the city was burning. I climbed to altitude and circled. We were supposed to do battle damage assessment. See what we'd hit, report back. I watched the city burn. You could see people from 10,000 feet. Not individuals, but groups. Tiny dots moving through the streets, running, trying to escape the fire. Some weren't moving. Those were already dead or too injured to run. The fire was creating its own weather. Hot air rising, cold air rushing in, creating winds that fed the flames, made it spread faster. You could see entire blocks igniting at once. This wasn't precision bombing, this was area destruction. We weren't hitting military targets. We were burning a city. Morrison's voice came over the radio. Shaky. Dragon lead, do you see? There's people down there. Stay focused, Dragon 4. Complete your assessment. But they're civilians. I can see them. Radio discipline, Dragon 4. Complete your mission. Morrison went quiet. We circled for 20 minutes, taking photos, marking targets destroyed. The whole time the fire spread. The smoke rose. The people ran. Then we headed home. 53 minutes in the air. Back to base by lunch. In the debriefing, they showed us the gun camera footage. The napalm spreading, the fires starting, the smoke rising. Excellent mission. Target destruction estimated at 60 to 70%. Enemy logistics capability significantly degraded. They didn't mention the people, the ones we'd seen running, the ones who didn't make it out. Enemy logistics capability. That's what we'd hit. Not homes, not families, not children. Logistics capability. That night in the officers' club, Morrison got drunk, started crying, had to be helped back to his quarters. He flew 3 more missions. Then he cracked, started refusing to load napalm, got grounded for psychiatric evaluation. They sent him home, medical discharge, lucky bastard. The missions kept coming, Pyongyang, Sinwiju, Chongjin, every major city in North Korea. We burned them all. The official term was strategic interdiction. We were destroying the enemy's ability to wage war, legitimate military objective. The reality was we were burning cities full of people. By March, there wasn't much left of Pyongyang. Most of the city was rubble and ash. But they kept sending us back. Find what's left standing and burn it. Root out any remaining capability. Capability, infrastructure, assets, military terminology that let us avoid saying what we were really destroying. You developed a numbness, a detachment. You had to. You couldn't think about what was happening on the ground. You couldn't think about the people. You thought about the mission parameters, the targeting data, the weapons settings, the tactical situation, the flak, the MiGs that sometimes bounced us. You thought about anything except what you were actually doing. Some guys handled it better than others, or seemed to. They'd joke in the ready room, talk about their kills, buildings destroyed, fires started, made it sound like a game, high-score competition. Maybe that was their way of coping. Turn it into a game, and it's not real. Not people dying. Just points scored. I couldn't do that. Couldn't pretend it was anything other than what it was. But I kept flying, kept dropping, kept burning. Why? Orders, primarily. You follow orders. That's what soldiers do. And these were lawful orders. Strategic bombing of military targets in a war zone. Perfectly legitimate under the rules of war. Even if the rules of war had become meaningless. Even if military target had expanded to mean anything in the country we're fighting. I also kept flying because stopping felt like betrayal. My squadron mates were flying these missions, taking these risks. If I refused, someone else would have to fly my missions, take my risks. That felt worse somehow, making someone else do what I couldn't stomach. So I flew, mission after mission. Pyongyang burned, then Sinwiju, then Chongjin, then smaller cities, then towns, then villages. By mid-1951, North Korea was running out of things to burn. We'd destroyed 18 of 22 major cities, over 50% of their industrial capacity. Transportation infrastructure was wrecked. The northern half of the country was essentially a moonscape. Mission accomplished. Except the war kept going. The Chinese kept coming. The North Koreans kept fighting. All that destruction, and it hadn't stopped them. All those fires, all those deaths, and the war just ground on. I started wondering if any of it mattered. If all the burning accomplished anything except more suffering. But I kept flying because that's what I did. That's what I was good at. Burning cities from 15,000 feet. Clean, professional, efficient, monstrous. I finished my tour in August 1951. 53 missions. No losses, no shoot-downs. A few close calls with flak, but nothing serious. I'd survived. Statistical anomaly. Most pilots either got shot down or rotated out after fewer missions. I'd made it through intact. Physically intact, anyway. They pinned medals on me. Air Medal with oak leaf clusters, Distinguished Flying Cross, commendations for valor and skill. Valor. I'd followed orders, dropped bombs, burned cities. That's valor now? Back stateside, they wanted me to do recruiting tours, talk to high school kids about serving their country, inspire the next generation. I did a few. Stood in gymnasiums, told sanitized stories about flying jets, about serving America, about defending freedom. Never mentioned Pyongyang. Never mentioned the napalm. Never mentioned watching cities burn. The kids looked at me with admiration, saw a war hero, a fighter pilot, someone who'd done something important. I felt like a fraud. After a few months, I requested to stop the tours. They granted it. Probably could tell my heart wasn't in it. I got assigned to training command, teaching new pilots how to fly, how to bomb, how to fight, how to burn cities without thinking about what they're doing, and I was good at it. Turned out I was a decent instructor, patient, thorough. The young pilots respected me. Combat veteran, someone who'd been there, if they only knew. I started having dreams. Not nightmares exactly, just dreams where I was back over Pyongyang, watching the fires spread, watching the smoke rise, watching the tiny dots running through the streets. In the dreams, I could see their faces, the people on the ground, women, children, old men, looking up at my plane, knowing what was coming. In reality, I never saw their faces. Too high, too fast, just dots on the ground. But my brain filled in the details, created the faces I never saw, made them real, made them human. I'd wake up sweating, couldn't go back to sleep. Started drinking to help, couple of beers before bed, then whiskey, then whatever worked. Functional alcoholic, they call it. Did my job, showed up on time, performed my duties, just needed help sleeping. My wife, I'd gotten married in '52, she noticed, asked what was wrong, if I wanted to talk about Korea. I told her it was fine, the war was over, I'd moved on. More lies, the war wasn't over, not for me. It played every night in my head. She tried to understand, read books about the war, about the air campaign, trying to comprehend what I'd experienced. But the books talked about strategy, about military necessity, about degrading enemy capability. They didn't talk about the fires, about the burning, about the people. How could she understand when the official history didn't even acknowledge what we'd really done? We destroyed 18 of 22 major cities in North Korea, killed hundreds of thousands of civilians, created millions of refugees, and we called it strategic bombing, military necessity, success. It's been years now. The Korean War is history. The forgotten war, they're calling it already. Sandwiched between World War II and whatever comes next. Nobody wants to remember Korea. I understand why. It wasn't a good war. No clear victory, no satisfying conclusion, just an armistice. A frozen conflict that never really ended. And how we fought it. That's not something to celebrate. I read recently about the bombing campaigns, the official assessments. They estimate we dropped 635,000 tons of bombs on Korea. That's more tonnage than we dropped in the entire Pacific Theater in World War II. On a country the size of Utah, we destroyed more cities, more infrastructure, killed more civilians per capita than almost any conflict in history. The only comparison is World War II's strategic bombing campaigns. We learned from World War II, all right. We learned how to burn cities efficiently. I'm 41 years old now, still in the Air Force. Lieutenant Colonel, respectable career. On track for Colonel if I want it. I'm not sure I want it, because I know what the Air Force does. I know what we're capable of. I know that when the next war comes, and there will be a next war, we'll do it all again. We'll identify targets, we'll load the bombs, we'll fly the missions, we'll burn the cities, and we'll call it military necessity. My oldest son is 16, talks about joining the Air Force, wants to be a pilot like his dad, sees it as heroic, noble. I don't know what to tell him. Part of me wants to forbid it. Tell him the truth. Show him what war really is, what we really do. But what would I say? That I'm proud of my service but don't want him to serve? That I followed orders but they were wrong? That I helped win a war but feel like I lost something essential? How do you reconcile that? I can't. So I say nothing. Let him make his own choices. Maybe he'll never have to drop napalm on a city. Maybe the next war will be different. But it won't be. War is war. It's always been the same. We just have better ways of killing now. I think about Pyongyang sometimes. Wonder what it looks like now. They've rebuilt, I'm sure. The North Koreans are nothing if not resilient. But the people who died in those fires, they're still dead. The children who burned, the families who were destroyed, they don't get rebuilt. And I helped do that. Not alone. Thousands of us did. Orders from the top down. Strategic decisions made by generals and politicians. But I was the one in the cockpit. I was the one who flipped the switch. I was the one who watched the fires spread. I can't undo it, can't take it back. It happened. I did it. I just have to live with it. Every day, every night, every time I close my eyes and see the fires. Cities burn different at night, beautiful almost, until you remember what's burning down there. Until you remember that you're the one who lit the match. We never came back.